So we are live, and let me just say, this is one of those moments where you just pick up as if you left off like yesterday, and I can say that that's exactly how it is every time I come together and connect with Julie Ryan, who is here on my show, Nourish Your Soul Show. Welcome, Julie Ryan. I'm normally, well, at least twice now, I've been on her show, and welcome, Julie. So good to have you here on this side of the coin.
Thank you so much. What a delight to be on your turf.
I love it. And I have to say, I was thinking about when we first had our first connect, I was on this crazy podcast tour for high vibrational wellness. And I think there might have been 40 tours I was on. But I remember getting information sent to me from you, and it was articulate, and the questions were so like, this woman not only does her homework, she's deep, she understands, she knows the cosmology of the universe, and she knows real world, complexities. I don't know how to say it, but I really felt such this kinship because you navigate it all. And maybe, and when I say that, maybe give them a little background why I'm saying that, because it's not just you're hanging out being a medical intuitive. You've been an inventor and a million other things, but maybe give them a quick little who's Julie Ryan, because you're here.
Oh, and I just loved you to pieces, as you know. And just when I met you, I was like, oh, she is somebody special. And I feel that every time I get to talk to you too, or even if we are exchanging emails, I mean, it's like these little hearts are pouring out of my chest or something coming towards you. So
like the hearts on those emojis when they go.
Yeah, I feel exactly. Or like the confetti at Valentine's Day, that foil confetti you can put on the table at a party. I am a businesswoman and an inventor who learned how to do woo-woo, and I'm a buffet of psychicness.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So what does that mean? I am one of those crazy entrepreneurs who's founded 9 companies in 5 industries. I'm an inventor of surgical devices sold throughout the world. And I learned how to do energy healing and psychic medium woo-woo stuff. And woo, by the way, in Taoism means source.
It means what?
Don't know. It means source.
Oh, source.
Source. Like God, the universe, source. And so I learned how to do all this stuff. I didn't have dead people chasing me as a child. Or if I did, I didn't know it, let alone what I would have done with that information. But I was primarily interested in the healing aspects of it. And what I learned, Sevante, was once you get in touch with spirit, you can do it all. I don't understand why it's in these silos. You got the mediums and the pet psychics and the whatever and the healers and the connect with spirit. You can do it all.
It's amazing. And by the way, source, my Sevante actually means worship in Sanskrit. I don't know if you ever knew that.
I didn't.
And when I was driving one day, 2009, I heard you are Sevante, like spirit, God was hanging out in the car with me. And I thought, what? I'm going to go look that up just for kicks. Sure enough, that's what it meant. And actually a derivative is seva, is like selfless service to others, a savant, a wisdom teacher. So it really kind of transformed into
perfect.
2000.
Perfect for you.
Yeah. So you caught my ear. You said I learned, and here you are, in my mind, one of the greats. And I mean that from my heart. I've read your books. I have your books. We'll talk about angelic attendance. That's one. She does incredible trainings. I have clients that are her clients. I have people who've signed up to things because they've heard me on your show. And I mean that with sincerity. So when you say I learned, who did you learn from, or how did it just pop open for you? Because where you are now from when you just say I started this, I'd love to know the segue.
More than 30 years ago, I had a friend give me a book called Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Mays.
Oh, yes, a classic. Yes.
And she called herself a medical intuitive. Well, I thought, what the heck is that? I was in the medical business. At that point, I had started my first company and I was inventing surgical devices. And I'd never heard that term before. But obviously, I was interested in helping people heal through the supply side of the equation, helping doctors and surgeons help their patients. So I wanted to know more. And we didn't have the internet yet. So
Mhm.
I went to a bookstore because I thought they'll probably have more of this woo-woo stuff at a bookstore than even at my local library.
They weren't
And
even saying woo back then, I bet.
they probably weren't. No. And I found a book at the bookstore, a Barnes and Noble, no less. At I found a book called Hands of Light by the late Barbara Brennan, Dr. Barbara Brennan, who
Mhm.
was a NASA physicist who parlayed very complex quantum physics concepts into understandable English for the non-scientific mind. That would be me.
Yeah, make it palatable.
And I wanted to know more. So I called her school in New York at the time and I said, "You guys got anybody teaching this stuff in my area?" And lo and behold, they did. They had a graduate that had opened her own school. And I studied with her for 6 years,
Okay.
energy healing and Kabbalistic healing, which is ancient Jewish mysticism and
Sure.
those kinds of things. And so fast forward, I teach the buffet of psychicness, and I'll explain what that is in a minute, in a weekend. And then I also have some online self-paced classes that do just communicating with spirit. What happens as somebody's dying? Another class for medical intuition and energy healing. And they're like the appetizers to the big class. That's the whole buffet of psychicness. People can do it, with the online self-pace, but it's the in-person is really just kind of the best of the best.
I see Lana. I was just talking offline earlier about Lana Louise. If she's here, comment again, Lana, because I was talking about you to Julie. So there's this medical intuitive side, which is just a profound part of your world. And then there's this side, the angels. And
Yeah.
that's really what, I was on your show last year with Angelic Resonance, and tell me about that, because this was very kind of you to send me this book, and we will make a special offer as well. And then I read your other book from a lot of your students talking about their angels. So
Yeah.
where does that? Oh, she is here, Lana Louise. She's got a very amazing talent too. So tell me
Terrific.
about the angels, because I know we have that whole upper echelon, higher realm connection too.
Well, what I'd mentioned earlier is once you connect with spirit, you can do it all. So I'm like a human MRI. With people's permission, I can see inside their bodies. I can facilitate energetic healings with spirit working through me and with me to help facilitate healing, because nobody ever heals anybody else ever. Ever. No doctor, no healer, no medical provider. You got a cut on your leg, you go to the emergency room. The doctor's going to stitch it up, but he's not going to make your skin grow back. You make your own skin grow back. So, as I mentioned, once I connected with spirit, we can scan you energetically for medical stuff, do energetic healings. We can do the same with your pets. We can talk to your dead grandma. We can tell how close to death somebody is. We can do past life stuff. We can get advice from spirit. It's all the same thing. It's just accessing spirit for all these different areas. To your question about angels, the book, Angelic Attendants, What Happens as We Transition from This Life into the Next, is about how when we're dying, we're all surrounded by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets. And it has illustrations in it of what I have coined the 12 phases of transition. And it's about the loved ones' spirits and the pet spirits and the angels that surround us as we're dying. There's lots of information out there about the afterlife and near-death experiences and even how to grieve, but not much available about what's happening as we're actually dying.
True.
And there is university-based research that shows that 90% of people see the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets at the end of their lives as they're approaching death. 90%, Sevante.
Yeah, that's huge.
So I love it when science catches up with woo-woo, because woo-woo's been around a whole lot longer.
Yeah, well,
science.
that's true. And interestingly, my mom had just passed last January, and this book came to me like a week later. And I thought, and so I was deep into the process of grief, and I'm reading it, still fresh, but why? I was saying, why didn't I get this book a week ago? But I I really took it as it was very healing for me to know because she was
Mm,
calling her mother. And so when I was like, oh, there's, I'm reading the process. And the fact is, I loved it because it was like analytical. You just bridge this world that made people feel very evidential. That,
mhm.
and I think a lot of people, and I always wonder that when we kind of move into this woo world and we come from corporate or business, that a lot of people look for that evidence. They look for
Yeah.
evidential. And I felt like that book really explained things. Like it wasn't just like
Mhm.
you didn't pull that out of somewhere. I mean, well, you did, but
Yeah.
you made it in a way that people can really go, oh, okay, there's a system and a method.
Well, and the first time I saw it was when my own mother was dying in 2002. I'd never been around anybody dying before. And I felt like the Lady of Justice statue, where one side of me was, my heart was breaking because my mother was dying. And on the other side, I was seeing all this glorious stuff with these angels and these loved ones, spirits, and spirits of people who'd been dead for 30 or 40 years that I hadn't thought of in decades. And our childhood dogs were there. And it was wild. And so then a couple of years later, may I share how the book came about?
You can share anything you want. The platform
Oh,
is yours, my
oh,
love.
thanks, honey. I was with my mentor and she was doing a healing on me. And when she's doing a healing on me, I'm laying on this table face up, and all my deceased loved ones' spirits are on either side of the table. Even my little dog, Katie, who's on her hind legs and her little paws, her spirit's there and she's participating. And they all help with the healing. Well, one day, somebody, this dead Pope spirit shows up. And he's got the Pope hat on and the shepherd's rod and the whole 9 yards. And I said, well, who are you? And he said, I'm Clement. And I said, okay, sorry, I never heard of a Pope Clement. And he laughed and he said, I was number 6. I said, okay, great. How may I help you? And he said, you're supposed to teach the world what happens when somebody dies, because it's been so bastardized over the millennia and people are so afraid. And there's nothing to be afraid of, and you know it. Because by that time, that was a couple of years after my mother had passed, and I'd seen the same thing with other loved ones and family members of loved ones that I was helping. And so I said to him, thank you so much for stopping by, but you see, I'm a businesswoman and I'm really not interested because people will think I'm nuts. He said, yeah. Everything you've done in your career is to prepare you for this. And you just need to get on with it because people are so afraid.
People are
And
afraid.
you know what happens. You know the truth. And so, like, here's a little mission for you. Go teach the world what happens when somebody dies. And I again said, thank you so much. I'm really not interested. So I go to get in my car 15 minutes later, 10 minutes later, and I just looked him up on my phone. Pope Clement the Sixth, Sevante. He was in office during the Black Plague when 2/3 of Europe died, and he's best known for his prayers for the dying and his prayers for the dead. And I thought, God, Ryan, you can't make that up.
Oh my God.
So
I have
that's
chills
how
right
all
now.
this came about. And then 2 other quick parts to that story. May I share those?
Of course you may.
All right. So I'm like, yeah. I'm running my companies. I'm doing the mom and the wife and the, regular life thing. And we're in church one Sunday, and the priest from the altar during his sermon says, wouldn't it be nice if somebody could really tell us if the angels and our loved ones greet us and lead us into paradise? And I'm getting elbowed from my husband and my son. I'm sitting in between the two of them. And I thought, God, really? From the pulpit, you're giving me grief about this? Seriously? So I said, all right. I'll do it. So we put up askjulieryan.com, and I thought, I'm going to get nailed. Something's going to happen, and it's going to affect my business. So I'm lecturing at this conference of C-suite executives, primarily men. I give my talk. At the end of my talk, this guy walks up. He's got his iPad open to askjulieryan.com. It's got my picture on the front of it. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go.
It's on.
And he said, is this you? And I said, why, yes, it is. And he said, "Well, I want to know more. Can we sit together at lunch?" And I smiled and I said, "Sure, I'd enjoy that." And in my head, I'm thinking, "Great, I can get pummeled for an hour at lunch about this woo-woo stuff." So I sit at a table with 8 seats, 7 C-suite guys, and me, and all they wanted to talk about was woo-woo. They didn't want to talk about the conference. They didn't want to talk about their businesses. They didn't want to talk about what my business talk what included. All they wanted to talk about was spiritual stuff. And I thought, all right, I give. Okay, God, that's what I needed to know. And then the rest is history.
That's really interesting. As you were saying that, I was wondering what their motives for wanting to know that. Can they, is it ulterior motives, or is it really just honest, like what happens? I mean, I'm just curious to know, when the people who come to your show, and you have a very big following, are they mainstream people? Are
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are?
Absolutely. I think those guys at that conference, Sevante, they knew I was a businesswoman. I was talking about some pretty, businessy things in my talk. And
Yeah.
so they were like, okay, she obviously knows what she's talking about in business. Let's see what she says about this stuff. And so we talked about all kinds of things, not just what happens when somebody dies, but how can we communicate? And they had all this stuff that had happened to them. Like, is it my mom's spirit that's flicking the lights on? When this happened, was that really my grandmother? When I smell cigar smoke, is that really my granddad that's in the room? My dog looks like they're seeing spirits in the room. I can't see anybody. I mean, they had questions like that. It was really interesting. And so, to answer your question, people from all walks of life, from all over the world call in. People stay up in the middle of the night. They're calling in from Europe or Singapore or whatever. And in my angelic attendant training class and my online self-paced classes, we've had people from upwards of 20 countries, from all walks of life. I've educated on this energy healing and the buffet of psychicness stuff. Many medical providers, many physicians, many surgeons, many professors, many teachers, many housewives, orchestra conductor, Broadway star, on and on and on and on. Really, all walks of life you can think of.
Have you ever consulted with medical doctors who say, "Hey, Julie, can I run this case by you"? Do they do stuff like that with
Yeah,
you?
they send people to me,
Yeah.
and sometimes they'll take a scan of somebody after they've worked with me and their diseased kidney is fixed or something like that. And through the years, I've had a few of them call me, not so much lately because they're so stressed and so busy, and they
Yeah.
have 6 minutes to spend,
I
with a patient. It's so hard on the doctors. But I believe the work that I do, especially the healing work, whether it be physical or emotional, is part of the healing equation. You got Eastern medicine, Western medicine, you know, homeopathic stuff, the work that you do, certainly with food and your expertise on that. It's the grief counselors, all of it is part of the healing
It is.
equation to help somebody heal themselves.
One of my longtime friends, I can call her a tarot mentor. We go way back. She used to do missing person cases for the
Yeah.
FBI, and and I know, whether it's talked about or not, that our services are really in need from people who are just, maybe the veil is a little bit closed, or they're not really wanting to see what, the unseen. So it's nice to see when we can start to branch out, and to, I mean, that's what we're here to do, to let people know there's a bigger world going on in the unseen, in the higher realms, in the invisible. So it's a real gift to hear that. Um, what's next? Let's segue. Oh, I wanted to talk about what you were saying was coming up in May. I don't want to leave that out because you said you had something big.
Yeah. I
This is a good
have
time to be sharing that.
Right. My angelic attendant training, we do it online. It takes a weekend. It's the whole buffet of psychicness. And so we do that online in May. I believe it's the 17th and 18th. And then we'll do it again in Atlanta, the 23rd through the 25th of October. So weekend before Halloween. And that one's in person. We take over a hotel next to the Atlanta airport. I mean, literally, it's on the runway. And it was built by the Porsche engineers. It's right next to the Porsche racetrack.
Oh,
and
wow.
so it's nice. Really quiet. People say, oh my God, that's the busiest airport in the world. Do you get any sleep? I said, really, you can't hear the planes inside. And that's really fun. And then I have online training that's self-paced. The important thing is that all of my trainings have practice groups, because like anything, you can read something, you can go to a conference, you can watch a video, but until you're really doing it, you don't have the ability. That's when your abilities really ramp up.
There's someone here, Laura. Here, I'm going to just play this for you. Hi, Julie. I'm in Vermont. My son Briar and I go to naturopath that uses a specific technique to check for food intolerance. Now, did she know that I'm the food oracle, or how?
You're the one who needs to answer that one.
I'm thinking, wait a minute. I just clicked on it because it said hi, Julie.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, any of you who are here, you can ask questions. To either of us, but particularly Julie's here. So take this moment of that time. I don't know if that's a question or she's wanting to know. My son Briar and I go to a naturopath that uses a specific technique to check for food intolerances. I'd love to know what that technique is.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time what that technique is. It's just hard to explain how do you explain what you do? It comes in, and
I connect to somebody energetically. It's like I watch a laser beam come from my body wherever I am, and it will hook onto you even if you're on a planet far, far away in a galaxy far, far away. It doesn't matter where you are.
Okay, so it's a laser beam.
I envision shooting energy from your feet up through the top of your head, and I'll have a hologram in my mind's eye, and it'll be as if I'm looking at an X-ray or a CT scan or an MRI. And we do this every Thursday night live, and it's at 8 Eastern. Excuse me, Ask Julie, right? And there are hundreds of episodes. I think we're pushing 750 episodes. So we do 2 interview episodes a week, and then we do the live show, which is so much fun because people call in from all over the world. It's a crapshoot, Sevante. I never know what they're going to ask. I never know who's calling in. I never know what Spirit's going to say. But we all work together to help healing integrate with other people. And, like Susie Q's calling in from Seattle, and she's got a pain in her left knee, and I'll get her on my radar, which is like an MRI in my mind's eye. And I'll say you got a torn meniscus. So then we'll do a healing on her, but I'll suggest and invite everybody to pay attention to what I'm describing as the healing, because then we're all working together to help that person heal themselves. It's like the power of prayer or the power of meditation when it's all on the same person or topic. It's all that energy going to that person. And the cool thing about it is it doesn't matter whether somebody's listening live or whether they're listening 5 years from now, because time isn't a thing in the spirit world.
Yeah. I pulled a card while you were talking and just was guided to grab that deck and pull it in the spirit. And interestingly, the card is our Believe card and goji berries. And I was asked to, in my mind, ask her where she's at eating sugar or no sugar. So where are you at with sugar right now?
I have been sugar sober it'll be 7 years, April 1st.
I remembered when I was saying, be sure to ask her, because she had a word for it. It was sugar sober.
I've been sugar sober.
Maybe you were supposed to bring that up, because I kept saying, ask her about that sugar word.
Yeah. And I'm like the original Cookie Monster. I mean, if there was a plate of cookies in front of me with 20 cookies on it, I'd eat all 20, and then I want another 20. And same thing with any kind of sugar. So going on 7 years ago, I finally just thought, oh, for God's sakes, you've been trying to deal with this your whole life. Just give it up. And I have. And it's been the best thing I've ever done for my own health. I didn't even have a piece of cake at my son's wedding.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing.
And now with all these years, there's no way I'm going to go back and start over. I mean, not a chance. However, two things. I still get the dopamine hit when I walk into a bakery or smell baked goods. And I allow myself to do that. I'm like, oh my God, I want one of each. That's number one. And number two, I've told my son, I've said, honey, the last 2 weeks of my life, I want you to bring me every brownie, every cookie, every piece of cake, every, creme brulee you can find, because I'm going to eat it all. And he said, how am I going to know it's the last 2 weeks of your life? I said, I'm psychic. I'm going to tell you.
Of course you will. So I'm going back to this card, why this card was brought up. And it was interesting. I'm getting ready to do a nutrition intensive. I take students who like the decks, and they get to, when they read the decks, they get the spiritual meaning, but I go now deep into it in these nutrition. And so I was really looking like, what are the top ranked foods in these 64 for heart disease, for, diabetes? I looked at all the top challenges, and I got to say, goji berries was literally in the top 10 for just about every single ailment. And so take note of that. I
don't know that I've ever eaten them.
Oh, you're kidding. You can get them. You can get them online. You can get them dried goji berries. There's some companies that actually, Denise could tell you, I saw she's here. Her company has it in a juice form. But talk about the powerhouse of wealthy nutrition, goji berries. And so I look at this cup, and it's our believe card. So there's a lot to believe in the power of what we're talking about here. I'm going to switch back before we head off because there are a few questions, and someone I think is saying she's from New Zealand. Hi from Melissa in New Zealand. Happy New Year to you both. I lost my dear friend Travis suddenly on July 19th last year. Does he have a message for me, please? Are you open to answering?
Yeah. Well, as soon as you think of them, they come right in. Our heads are like satellite dish.
Hi, Melissa from New Zealand. Thank you for tuning in.
I'm saying carry on. Don't get discouraged. Carry on. I don't know what that means, but hopefully Melissa will know what that means.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. My daughter, I'm told, is going to be moving to New Zealand in a couple months. So
geez.
That as a sign. I know she was in Australia. She came back to the U.S. Now she's back down under. Okay, this is Laura again. And food intolerance. We should talk. Can you check to see if you get that or not? I go to a naturopath to check for food intolerance. It says mine and my son's are meat and gluten. Can you check to see if you get that or not?
I get a yes, but not grass-fed meat. Regular meat that's grain processed is bad because it's got all the gluten in it. And the Sevante, you're the queen of this. The grain here in America is it's fake. It's Frankenfood.
Frankenfood. Yeah, I'm super gluten-free. More and more I look to see, and you really got to check your ingredients. Now I'm just advocate of all the guar gums. I mean, there's just so much they're putting into these things, and now they're dressing them up in so many names. You got to be really careful. I have to say, I found this app. I have no affiliation with them other than I'm an advocate of it, and I downloaded it, but I should share it with you and Julie if you'd like. It's called Olive. Do we all know Olive? Anyways, here it is. And Olive, it's mostly for families with kids, but adults like it too. You can literally scan the barcode, and before you put it in, you say, I don't want seed oils. I don't want gluten. I don't want, you list what you don't want. So they're like, okay, thank you. We know your voice. We know your diet. We know that you are sensible and you don't want to be poisoned. And then it goes around on the barcode, and it's like, and it gives you a ranking 1 out of 10 out of 100. So the other day, my daughter wanted something. I said, oh no, I was with someone. I was at her house, and she says, I feel very bloated. and I don't know what it is. And I immediately looked over. I said, what's your protein powder? And so I put the scan on it. Every day she's been doing this, 0 out of 100. So then I went and gave her my protein powder that I sell. And I said, just for kicks, let's just scan it. They didn't have it, but I know it's 100 out of 100. But it will give you a ranking, 50 out of 100. This is okay. 80. This is great. And it's going to tell you when it's 0 or 10. It's going to say this has seed oils, trace this, da. I think it's really important if we don't know all the big names. I mean, we all know monosodium glutamate, and we may know hydrogenated oils. We may know some of those. But when you start seeing modified or any of these things, but I think if you can get the support of an app or something like that, start doing some scanning, because there's a lot of things hidden in you. And especially as prices are going up, they're looking for ways to cut corners even more. So we got to be even more on our game. Don't you think, Julie? Like,
well, I do. When I'm reading labels, I can hear you in my head going, more than 3, let it be.
Oh my God. I thank you for that.
I hear you in the grocery store if I'm, looking at something.
Mom, are you listening?
Like the Boulder chips, which I love. And it's like avocado oil and sea salt and potatoes. And I could hear you in my head going, it's 3. So it's okay in moderation.
It's 3. It's good for me.
It's 3. But honest to God, I do hear you in my head talking to me when I'm reading labels, saying that.
Oh, well, that means the world to me. Julie, I can go on and on all day. I decided that these shows should hover around 30 minutes. I know that everyone's busy doing their thing, including you and me. But I used to do hours, and I was on a podcast. Someone had me on for 2 hours, and I'm like, who's going to sit for 2 hours? But 30 is enough to give them a sense of what you've got going on, what I've got going on, and
free book.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's complete with that.
Yeah,
free book. How do you want them to get this book?
Anybody that wants anybody who thinks they're ever going to lose a loved one, which is all of us. Anybody who thinks they're going to be in that position someday, which is all of us, get a free digital and audiobook download of Angelic Attendance, What Really Happens as we transition from this life into the next. Just go to julieryangift.com, julieryangift.com, and we'll send you the digital and the audiobook download. And it's in Spanish as well, both versions, if you prefer Spanish. I think this stuff should be taught in the schools. Sevante, you and I have talked about that. And it's given out by many churches. My Catholic parish gives a copy to everybody that comes in to plan a funeral, or everybody that has a loved one who's dying. Many churches of all denominations, many synagogues, many hospice agencies give my book. And what an honor and a privilege. And so Pope Clement told me to teach the world. I'm teaching the world. You can get my book for free.
There you spread the love, girl. Last thing, that other book I read with all those, I would say adorable, because each one made me smile more than the next.
Yeah.
The angels of your students. Tell me, yes. I led that to someone. I don't know who has it.
Angel Messages for Your Life's Journey. And we just released the 2nd volume. And it's true stories of miraculous and angelic interactions, and proceeds from it all the proceeds go to fund a scholarship to my angelic attendant training, where you can learn the buffet of psychicness. And we open those scholarships up a month before the class, and it's open like for a week, and we'll get hundreds of applications. And then there's a board that is kind of like the Academy Awards, voters, and they're all graduates, and they vote on who they think should get the scholarship. And then they tell me, I don't have anything to do with it. They read the applications, and there's I think there's 7 or 8 of them that filter through all of the applications that are received. And then they narrow it down to 5, and then they vote on that. And it's, of course, one of my graduates is a CPA. So she's like the most organized thing ever. and she handles that. Her name is Franny. She's fabulous. So yeah, and we just released the second volume, which I just happen to have here. Let me find it here in my drawer. I think I've got it here. And so I'm not finding it easy. But yeah, I've got 8
Could they
books
find
out.
that at your website? Ask Julie
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah, children's books. There's 4 children's books with darling illustrations in them and angel messages for dogs, kids, cats, and truth.
Oh my God. Did you know my first book I've ever written was a children's book?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a frog, Finn's Giant Leap. He goes on this adventure and gets into some trouble, and he gets saved by a fairy or an angel, let everyone interpret it. And he grows wings and learns to fly. I always wanted to fly like the birds. And I just remember in the middle of the night, get out a pen, and I just got on my computer. That was like 20 something years ago. And that was like started my writing process. And now Finn's finally come around. He's got a new adventure to go on. So I'll have to find some.
Can you still get him on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. Yeah. Finn's Giant
Leap.
There's a Kindle version, and then there's and it's a great messaging, like believe in yourself. All you ever needed is already inside. All the things that all of us need to remember ourselves, and people like you and I are showing the way. Julie, I love you to death and to life. And I look forward to the opportunity to cross paths one more time, at least in this year, and wishing you the best in all you do. And please, everyone, go visit her show, her classes, and she's special.
Ask Julie Ryan. AskJulieRyan.com. That's where everything is.
All right, everyone. Have a blessed night. Thank you for being here, and be sure and share this on. I know a lot of you watch this later. Share it far and wide, loud and proud. Blessings, and have a good rest of your week. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Mwah.
Mwah.